In today's video, we are going to create an amazing poster design for a yogurt brand. Grab your mouse as we dive in. First things first, we are going to create a new document. Choose a solid color. So we are going to copy the hex code. Create a new layer. With a soft tone brush. Opacity is set to 100. Hardness is 0. We are going to set our foreground to this hex code we have copied. Then we click once. We are going to set the blend mode to color dot. Create a new layer. With a soft tone brush, foreground is set to white. We are going to click once. Ctrl T, and we are just going to transform this. With the layer in place, we are going to reduce the opacity. Let's grab our asset for this tutorial. We are just going to copy this layer, Ctrl C to copy, Ctrl V to paste. We right click and convert that to a smart object. With the layer in place, we are going to set the blend mode to screen. Create a mask. With the mask selected, we are going to grab the gradient tool. Setting foreground to black. With the gradient tool, we are just going to drag this way to erase. We grab the next layer. Ctrl C to copy, Ctrl V to paste. Right click and convert this to a smart object, Ctrl T to transform. With the layer in place, we are going to set the blend mode to soft light. Create a mask. Grab the gradient tool. Then we are just going to drag this way to erase. We are going to create a curves adjustment layer above all layers. And reduce the opacity. With this layer selected, with the mask selected, we are going to grab the gradient tool and just drag a bit to erase. We are going to copy this layer. Ctrl T, right click, and we are just going to flip that vertically. We create a mask. With the mask selected, we are just going to use the gradient tool to erase. But with the brush tool, that's much faster. We are going to set the blend mode to vivid light. Now we are going to copy the yogurt. Convert that to a smart object, Ctrl T, and we are just going to transform this a bit. So holding down the Ctrl key, I'm just going to select these three layers and copy them together. So these three layers are the layers that are going to form the cape. So position them this way. Just this way. Once we have all three in place, we are going to select all three layers and drop them. We are going to copy this item, Ctrl C to copy, Ctrl V to paste. We position it right here. We set the blend mode to screen. We adjust it properly. Ctrl J to make a copy. Ctrl J to make an extra copy. So we have 3 of that. With the layer selected, we are going to make an extra copy and drop it just right here. We're just going to position it as if it's behind the yogurt. Then we are going to be masking out some portion. We zoom in and position this right here. Now we are just going to grab this shape. We are going to position it just right here. Ctrl T to transform. We convert that to a smart object. Ctrl T to transform. We right click and we are just going to warp that. With the layer in place, we are going to create a mask. With the mask selected, we are going to grab the brush tool. Hardness is set to 100. Opacity is set to 100. Foreground is set to black. And we are just going to mask up this portion. With foreground color set to white, we can paint. With foreground color set to black, then we are just going to be masking out the portion we don't want. So I'm just going to select all the cloud layers. And we are going to lock them because they are going to distract us. With this layer selected, we are going to create a curves adjustment layer clipped onto the layer. So the effect applies solely to the layer. We are going to reduce the opacity. Create an exposure adjustment layer clipped onto the layer. With the mask selected, Ctrl I to invert. We are going to select the brush tool, right click and set hardness to 0. Reduce the opacity. Foreground set to white, and we are going to be painting some shadows. We are going to create another exposure adjustment layer clipped onto the layer. With the mask selected, Ctrl I to invert. With a soft tone brush, foreground set to white, we are just going to be painting. So with same technique, we are just going to paint some highlights. With the cape layer selected, we are going to create an exposure adjustment layer clipped onto the layer. With the mask selected, Ctrl I to invert. With a soft tone brush, we are going to be painting some shadows. We are going to create another exposure adjustment layer, invert the mask, and we are going to be painting some shadows. With this layer selected, we are going to create a new layer. Grab the polygonal lasso tool. So we are going to grab this layer. With the move tool selected, we are going to see the center. We press L for lasso tool, then we are just going to create a selection. Once we have the selection, then we are just going to press Alt Backspace to fill it with the foreground color white. But we are going to select the layer first. Ctrl D to deselect. With the layer selected, we convert that to a smart object. Ctrl J to make a copy. Then we are just going to position the copy right here. Ctrl J to make another copy. Then we are just going to position it right here. The layer selected. We right click and go for blending options. So we are going to apply drop shadow. Opacity is 100, angle is 90. So with the layer selected, we are going to close it up, right click and create layer. We are separating the shadow onto a new layer. So the shadow is separate with the shadow layer right here. We are going to right click and convert that to a smart object. So we go for filter, blur, and we are going to apply Gaussian blur. Radius is set to 5. Then we hit OK. We are going to reduce the opacity. Create a mask. With the mask selected. With a soften brush. We are going to increase opacity, set foreground to black. Then we are just going to be painting out the leaks. With the layer selected, we are going to create another exposure adjustment layer. Invert the mask by pressing Ctrl I with a soften brush. We are going to reduce opacity, foreground is set to black, and we are going to be painting some shadows. With the topmost layer selected, we are just going to scroll down. We are just going to scroll down. And select this layer. Once you have all the layers selected this way, we press Ctrl G to make a group. We are going to select these two layers and take them out. That's the birds and the parachute. Now, once we have the group in place, we are going to press Ctrl J to make a copy. With the copy selected, we are just going to open it up and delete the clouds. So with all the 4 clouds layers selected, we are just going to click here to unlock and we can delete it. Right click and convert the group to a smart object. Ctrl T to transform and you can make it smaller. And we are just going to position it right here, make it smaller, rotate it a bit. Ctrl J to make a copy and we are just going to position it right here. Create a levels adjustment layer clipped onto that. Create a hue and saturation adjustment layer. Try to match the color a bit. Once we have everything in place, then we are going to press Ctrl Alt Shift E to merge all layers. Right click and convert that to a smart object. Then we go for camera raw. So filter, camera raw filter. We are just going to play with all these settings until we like the outcome. Once that is looking good, then we hit OK. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I do hope to see you in the next one. Till next time, stay creative.